I think the point in my career where I thought I had to be an authentic board member came very early on. Actually, it was in one of my very early boards, nonprofit boards, in my early 20s. And the reason it was my mother taught me a lesson, which was to always show up fully present and fully self-aware. And so to never sort of hide behind your fears. And so I showed up and I disclosed at that very first board meeting that I was a lesbian. And it was, I didn't know how I was going to get received at that moment. And for a moment there, and many of my sort of colleagues said, don't do this, you're going to ruin your career. But I really felt that it would be a greater risk to pretend to be something I was not. And so I was very fortunate that I was in my early 20s in one of my first boards, and I was able to do that. As not only an openly gay, lesbian member of a board, but I'm also Latina and mixed race. So I carry so many identities. And I've actually learned a lot of the work that the governance work and the ESG work that's being done, particularly around diversity, equity, and inclusion, hold some very valuable lessons about how to bring on the next generation of LGBTQ plus board members. One of them is to really expand our networks, to reach out into the LGBTQ plus community, that is in corporate boards and involved in business, and really do what we're doing today, which is to let people know that we are here, that there are many more of us in the corridors of our corporate boardrooms than many people know, and that it's time to really come out and to be our authentic selves, and that all the data shows from the DEI perspective and that the greater the diversity of a board, the greater the outcomes and performance of a company. We know that there's so much data about it. And so expand the networks, reach out to other LGBTQ plus individuals as well as allies, work closely as chair of governance committee of Recology. I work very closely with the C-suite, the CEO, and the whole board around having specific strategies to recruit, to identify and recruit and engage and retain a very diverse board and staff, and including LGBTQI, as well as other people of color and gender. Recology has leadership there with Mike Sangiacomo, who's our CEO, and Dennis Wu, who is our board chair, independent board chair lead, of fighting for the rights of people of color, women, LGBTQ plus individuals. And so this is part of their DNA. Mike and I were on a board of the AIDS Foundation, San Francisco AIDS Foundation, in the early 1980s, mid 1980s, at the start of the pandemic. And so he was at the forefront of seeing the damage and the implications of fear and discrimination, particularly around the LGBTQ plus community. And so we got to experience that together. And so he has always brought those values to how he does his hiring, how he runs Recology, how he recruits board members. And Dennis as well has been an outstanding partner with Mike around really asserting and putting forth a priority for diversity of every type and form. So, when I joined the board of Recology, there were two of us that were LGBTQ plus, Larry and myself. There were two Asian members of the board. There was an African-American male member of the board. And so it was clear that diversity was a priority within the company at the board level. And certainly we've seen an incredible amount of diversity at the C-suite level as well, and all the way through. And the way we know this is not only do we hear their words, but we, at every single board meeting, we get the data that shows what's happening around metrics of outreach, inclusion, retention, pay equity, and so forth, related to issues of diversity, particularly for the LGBTQ plus community, but also for the DEI communities of color, as well as men and women. So this is their tradition. They have an incredible track record in the community as well as at the board level, and it's who they are. It is part of their core values and identity as individual leaders, and it's part of the core values and identity of the company, Recology, and which is why I'm so proud to be a board member.